Hi there, Randy Green here, podcast number 2, aside from the introduction, so technically podcast number 3. So let's work with a little bit of how to change your diet. Again, it's part of the text material, and yes, I am discovering a little bit of typos here and there, but I'm not going to go into all sorts of proofreading again. On page 7, I wrote deal with the implications of the damages density 1 networks of our planet, and it was the damaged density 1 networks of our planet because there are multiple of them. Anyways, these are just a little bits here and there, and I am sorry about that. I might change it later on, but right now I'm just on that whole. There's a lot of things I need to implement literally as an information system as quickly as possible, because I'm beginning to unravel that pattern that I'm creating. And technically it's already there. The pattern is, in a way, it's already created because we have had all these people that have talked about how to change your diet. I've mentioned movies, documentaries, sciences. You can look up anything you like on YouTube on how to become a plant-fruitarian or a plant-based food. We have got plenty of businesses that are working with that one. It's already implemented as part of the base program. And this is where you kind of say, that's the pattern. And then we'll need to lift it to the next one. And that's why if I'd done this 10 years ago, I would have said something differently. 10 years ago, people were, if I were talking about being a vegan, it was enormously complicated, and you will look to your front at, they kind of look with you and go, what's wrong with you? As in kind of, why can't you just be like the rest of us? And just kind of, I'm sorry, it makes me vomit. Why does it do that? Oh, you must be a little bit nuts, aren't you? And whatever was going on at the time. So things have shifted, definitely. So with that one, the pattern is already there, and my job now is to add that extra. So that pattern that's already there has different steps in it. And I'm just blasting through that one, showing you a little bit of different approach, because many of you, and I've seen that in my work with clients as well, that are meat eaters or live by a very sugar enriched diet or have bad eating habits. They have all of these difficulties in changing it. For me, it's just, I work differently, especially after I clear out the energetic parasites and got them nailed down and understood, well, it's not because I don't want to change, it's because I got a lot of entities in me that doesn't want me to change. And the moment I got that one and understood how to clear them out and get rid of these and keep my energy system as mine and not being a huge household of all sorts of forces and energetic entities, and constantly I'm on top of that one and taking them out. And if I do get a craving for chips or something, I know, that's the typical Syrian avian type of energetic parasites. And I nail it down, I get rid of it, and then the craving disappears. So it's all about energetic parasites that need certain types of energies to be produced in our biological field that is enriched with emotional and electrochemical transmitters that are connected to the artificial fourth. Everything that we kind of put into our mouth has an effect on the psychosomatic system, that is the emotional field imbued into the biofield. In the transformative energy system or the transition sciences, I work with the emotional field, explaining how it's composed and the work that you could do with it, including later on with the advanced clearing work with the emotional field. And I have the basic clearing methods and techniques explained in the whole basic fourth dimensional energy work, where you will be taught how to do that. So I made the course material for everything I'm saying here. Go through the course material and you will get to know how to do and the sciences behind. Because for me, it's important that you both understand what you're dealing with, that you can envision what we are dealing with, so you can begin to see the holographic code systems, perceive what they hold of information, and work with that information, both within your normal human awareness spectrum, but also in the higher density structural layers of your brain. So you are combining both the what you have inside this reality in these times with what you had in the past and with what you can engineer in the future. Learn how to clear out past, present, and future so you become clear and completely aware of everything that's going on in the now and as you are and what you were and what you can become. And then you learn to deal with that as part of your personality matrix. So that's the activation where you truly understand how to work with energy. And once you get that one, and once that becomes the new habit of working with energy and yourself and reality and what have you, then this whole kind of changing things also becomes, you will see why you should do it. You will perceive the information systems behind, and then it will be easy for you to change it. And you will in your contemplation and in your energy work, you will then understand what is holding you back, what are there forcing you to keep up the bad habits. And I'm saying that in plural because it's more than one thing. These energetic parasites, they are more or less connected to every single bacteria in your body, to every single microbe in your body, including the mitochondria. All of these have entities behind them. So not just kind of, oh yeah, I got a snake. Wow. Now I'm clear. Wish it was that easy. Of course not. We are in a system that is the distortion layers spin from the basic foundational microbes, algae, or whatever, which we're seeing now. Everything is falling apart, right? To the highest level of our reality. So it's, as I said, the 11th dimensional Sirian that fucked it all up to begin with. So kind of, if you want to go there, here's the first of many that put everything in jeopardy. So it always takes one to create something new or an opening. It always takes one. And then once it's done, then that others will follow. And then that one little nodal point will become a huge pattern of change and a huge field of different types of energy. And that's both segregation dynamics, but also the law of reality fields that comes in play there. So when I talk about in the next pages here of how to change your diet, I am aware that some of you will have struggles with it, that some of you are not yet trained to do this. I want to change, and then you change, and then you stick to it. You might be able to change. You might say, I'll do it tomorrow. You might begin and then life happens and then it just becomes too difficult. And then you phase out of it. You have obstacles, or as I have as well, there are days where I can't exercise because I'm being bombarded with different forms of energy. I simply haven't got any energy for it. Or if some of the days where the sun was really, really nasty, I was just cooped up in the kitchen on the floor, just trying to keep myself together. That's not the days where I'm doing a lot of exercise. But the moment I've cleared that out and I get myself back on track, I know when I'm back on track, then I exercise. And then I take up my habit again. I resume the way I lived before the energetic attack, before the sunburst. And because when the sun is nasty, it's typically related to sunburst. Whether or not science are detecting these, some of them are on a dimensional, 8th dimensional level. Some of them are on 6th dimensional level. So these comes in all depending on how activated your energy system is, depends on how affected you will be on the different shifts and changes in the sun and different types of energies it is emitting, especially within the density 1, because even though we're kind of saying it's dimension 1 to 3, it is technically, that's just the foundational level of it. It is from dimension 3 to 9. We have our own different layers of dimensions that goes with the density 1 configuration. So that's that understanding from 1 to 9. So that's why we have 9 layers of the emotional field. Okay, and the biofield has 7 layers and the mental field has 5 layers, and all of that you combine together, and then you clear that one out, and then you'll discover that you have multiple different dimensional features of your 6-layered advanced energy system. So it's not just, oh yeah, I got these layers and these rings. They are interconnected, all depending on whether we're talking organic matter or vibrational energies or radiation energies or holographic energy units combined, whether they are connected to reality fields or life forms. So there are many different configurations and constellations of both realities, but also of different types of humans. So the steps of changing your diet is, for me, quite simple. For me, I work the best way. I need to know, I need to understand before I can get myself into that position where I can actually move forward. So for me, it always begins with education. It always begins with studying the ways of eating a fruit and plant-based diet. And you can use the internet to find information on that one. There is a free material you can buy. You can do training programs. You can do whatever. It's all out there. The accurate intake of protein, amino acids, and onward and so forth. So all of that, you can kind of get that understanding. Once you get into the habit of knowing what the different types of items you're eating, what they have and what they're good for. I studied that 20, 30 years ago. It's so foundational. I think I studied a whole year or something, reading different books I found on the library at the time, and just making it, going through all of these thought processes of what is important for me, what do I like. Each and one of you have a range of vegetables and fruit that you like. Do they hold what you need? Go in and investigate what does apple hold, or what does banana hold, and or whatever, blueberries, what are they good for? And then test run that with your body, as in kind of, what does your body like? What doesn't it like? And that will shift as well. For instance, when I was younger, all of what was sour was not really my thing. But now I'm crazy about cranberries. But that's also because with these weird things that are going on, they have a different, I can't remember what's called in English. You can look up cranberries on Wikipedia or any resource out there that explains what cranberries hold of different antibiotics and different antioxidants and all these kind of things. But there's something in cranberries that my body needs right now. And that means when I put it into my mouth, and they are not enriched with sugar or anything, because then they kind of take away the purpose of it. And it's enormously sour. My whole body's kind of wrenching with that sourness. But my body then tells me, yummy, 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 more, more, more. And you kind of say, is that desire? Yes, that is a kind of desire telling me that I need that. That's a different type of craving, because I am deliberately choosing something that hasn't got all sorts of sugars and enrichment or chocolate or anything. It's just raw cranberries grown biodynamically and onward and so forth, and bought by producers from Denmark and have a low carbon footprint and all these kind of things that are correct. So that is what I need right now. So you can say you're not to eat things you don't like, but you are to find within that spectrum or palette of what you actually like, what can you combine in the most minimalistic, simple manner, so you every day get what you need from what you actually like, or what you can learn to like, because sometimes we also need to learn to like something. And sometimes I'm completely in love with the cranberries, and at other days I'm I'm completely rejecting them. And that's my body telling me, now I need it, now I don't need it. So I'm in a very, very good communication line with my body, what it needs and what it doesn't need. My body tells me, sometimes my body likes that, sometimes it doesn't like that. When I have cravings for things I know that are unhealthy, that's energetic parasites. When I have cravings for something I know that's healthy, because my brain knows what's good and what's bad, because I studied it, I've gone into all the layers of it. I know I can't kind of just like a parrot tell you is this and that, whatever. I would have to go to the books. I would have to look it up. I would have to use text material where I got that understanding. So you might as well do it yourself. Study this on the internet and find what you need to know, so that you get the needed information. And of course, find websites that are not endorsing protein intake from dead animals. So you go in all of, there's so much out there. Fortunately, I don't need to go that path now. 10 years ago, I would have to, but today I don't. So I can take it to the next level. Other people have been doing and have done brilliant material out there for free, all places, including Coursera.org and other higher institutions of learning processes such as Stanford or Yale or what have you. There are a lot about food sciences within what we call contextual and general science, and their approaches to it, because we are now on the same page today. So learn why it's important to change diet and the benefits of it. I here gave my take on it in the 2 previous podcasts, and you can study others and you will see there's a lot of health benefit. We talked about how, for instance, depression, different types of what you call arthritis, and all sorts of weird diseases and ailments people are suffering from. We call it lifestyle diseases, can be alleviated and lessened by changing your diet. So it's out there. You don't need me to tell you that. I am kind of that person that is, I like simplistic things. I like things to be simple in the base program. On the inner side and in my higher awareness, as complex as possible. Oh, yes, please. But when we talk base program, because base program is what base program is and the type of energy that are utilized within the base program, the more simple we make it, the more minimalistic we make it, the lesser energy we are utilizing of the base programs that are upholding our reality. So therefore, find easy recipes for everyday cooking. It does not have to be difficult to live the plant-based way. Find simple solutions. This whole standing hours and hours in the kitchen, not my thing. I cook potatoes once a week. I put them in a container that I put in my fridge, and then I create different types of foods where I just warm up the potatoes. Or I have fresh vegetables in the freezer. Sometimes it's actually more healthy, have a higher level of nutrition in frozen vegetables than in raw vegetables due to the time of year, as well as when they were harvested. So there's always a given that it's just the fruit or the raw thing that are the best, sometimes actually better cooked. Some of the vegetables must be cooked because they're not good in a raw state. They're unhealthy when they're raw. And onward and so forth. But it all comes down to find some simple way of creating what you need. I only eat 1 meal a day with vegetables. That's my evening meal. I have 4 or 5 dishes I use interchangeably. I made 4 or 5 dishes I use interchangeably. Sometimes I add other components to it, some kind of, for instance, vegan cheese, plant-based cheese, or something to give it a different type of taste. And other times I don't, and onward and so forth. So I shift between these different dishes I have made up that I know my body likes, and I know that I get what I need. So that's all I've kind of done. And then I kind of think, what do I want to eat today? And then I do one of my dishes. The rest of the day, I have simple intake of, in the morning, I create a smoothie of soy milk, blueberries, bananas, apples, nuts, and whatever I feel my body needs at the time. And then I go and I eat that over the course of day, and I add it up with a handful of other types of walnuts, for instance, or a little bit of some crackers or some, what you call it. We have a specific type of very, very rural, rough bread in Denmark, which has no English word to it. No white bread for me, no thank you. So all full of fibers and all little things I can add in. So I have around what we could say 1 large meal per day, and then I have a lot of smaller meals that I'm taking during the day. Often I'm working when I wake up, and then I'll work 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And while I'm working, most of what I actually digest are tea or coffee. And it's not strong coffee and it's not strong tea. So this is sometimes it's herbal tea, sometimes it's black tea. So these are kind of things that, yes, we can have all sorts of discussion about black tea and carbon footprint and what have you. But this is also when you live so minimalistic as I do. I don't have a car. I don't use a lot of energy from the electricity grid or anything. I'm not using gasoline. I'm not using gas in my household. I'm living in Denmark where we have specific ways of producing heat that are not fossil fuel based, and all of these kind of things. So my entire, I'm not traveling anymore. I'm not once a month or twice a month. I'm doing public transportation if I need to go somewhere. I'm not going a lot of places. I'm not traveling by plane. I'm not buying a lot of clothes. I've got what I need. I buy when my clothes are falling apart. I buy something new. I don't buy a lot of items. I literally only use food for food, money for food food. That's what I have of expenses aside from rent and the bills I have to pay. And that's kind of all. I am as minimalistic as you get. Not as in kind of, oh yeah, scrape my entire home, but the things I've collected, or some of the things I still have that I enjoy having in my home is actually from my childhood. So I'm this kind of person that takes really, really good care of my things, so they last much, much longer than what they are produced for. So therefore, I don't need to buy a lot of new stuff because nothing gets broken. And since I'm living on my own, then I live in that environment I've created where everything is nurtured and taken care of and are being sustained by my energy, including the house plants I've got. They're growing to enormous proportions. I'm literally having little forests. These plants, I got them when they were little, and now they're 2 and 3 meters tall because they're just thriving in my energy. So I'm really nurturing my local environment. That's why I'm not really going out much and we kind of say, now you sound like a lunatic. But as you get more and more activated and you are activating more and more levels of your higher order energy system, you will discover that sometimes you can go out and sometimes it's just not the right time to go out, because you could do it, but then you'll come back home with things that you then need to clear out. And then the question is it even worth it? Okay, just to put that things in context with this whole kind of easy recipes, it doesn't have to be all of that extravagant, excessive overuse of all sorts of things. Figure out what you like and then combine it in different ways. Always use up what you have in your fridge. Buy groceries once a week and then store it in the fridge, and then buy things that you don't have to toss out. Don't buy excess or a surplus of things because you think, oh, I'm going to use all these fancy dishes. Boil it down literally to simple recipes, simple dishes that you know how to make, and then just buy for that, nothing else. You can add a little bit here and there if you like, but generally speaking, you have that kind of foundational, this is what I eat, this is what I do every day, and you use every single item up so there won't be any waste of resources. So you won't throw any food away. You will use everything up because you have bought simply, and you are using everything that you have bought until you need new, and then you buy new stuff. No food waste. So that goes, food waste comes with people that are imagining, oh, I'm going to do this and that and blah, 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 and I wanted this and that and blah, 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 and they buy all sorts of stuff they don't need. And then life happens and they don't get it cooked, and on the day they were supposed to, they're tired, and then things rot in the fridge, and then you can throw it out. So if you do want to have a lot of vegetables in your fridge, use them all and use them as smoothies or whatever you can come up with. And that's why it's just easier. Buy fewer items, buy more simple, go the other way, live simplistically. So changing how you cook is a matter of practice. And again, you can use YouTube to get inspiration, and then take time to meditate and envision your change of diet. And that's probably the most important thing, because that's where the other things were practical things. Here I go in and talk energetically, psychologically, psychic energetic, where I go in and say, well, this is where you envision how you change. You envision how you eat that dish. You envision how you cook that dish. You envision that this is good for you to cook that dish. And why do I need to envision everything? That's kind of imagining things, isn't it? No, you're using visual conditioning techniques, which we know athletes and other people are using as well. I use that too when I'm creating my project. I'm seeing it in my head, not as in kind of always going to have this and that, whatever outcome, but because you never know what the outcome is. But I'm envisioning the details of the project, how I'm going to do it, what I need to do, all of this. And that's kind of literally envisioning things that normally are what we call verbal mental processes. As in, if I want to cook something, I just do it without even thinking. As in when I think about what I want to eat for dinner, I'm actually going through the steps of cooking that one, envisioning the steps of what I'm going to do. So when I do go to the kitchen and I do fetch the the cooker or the saucepan or whatever, then I just go through what I've already envisioned. I just play out what I already envisioned I wanted to do, so I can think about something else because I already envisioned and coded my brain to unfold the steps of how I'm going to cook that recipe. And that's what you use the recipe for. But because I've been working with energy for so long, I'm envisioning everything. And then that becomes the playbook for my body. I imprint onto my brain, this is the architecture, this is the navigation tool, this is what you need to do by that envisioning. And if I really need to amplify it, I do the double hand position. That's why at the end of this book, I've shown you the double hand position where I amplify my vibrational field to add in energy to that pattern I am envisioning. So that's another technique that you can learn to work when you have learned to use it in clearer work. Eventually, you will not clear more. You'll begin to use it in a creational manner. So the meditation is meditation and envisioning your change of dying is actual contemplation. And when you meditate and envision things, you're contemplating, because there you are going into the still point. You are excluding everything else. You're just your brain and your body and your energies. And then you contemplate, you envision, you work with that pattern of change you want to create. You are literally creating deliberately an energy pattern or a mind pattern. And when you create this, don't put all sorts of emotions into it. Oh, I want to feel this and that, whatever, because then you are opening up for the energetic parasites. Hardcore mental processes is what will get you there. So the how to do this, how do you do this step by step? That's the way you envision things. You go through the details of how to produce that. So that's how you change your diet. You go through these steps, and you take one step at a time. You can either just do it right away, rip off the Band-Aid, or you begin with the morning meal, then you do your lunch, then you do your evening meal. I don't eat like that. I eat fluently during the course of the day. I eat when I'm hungry. And always done that. And right now I'm not sleeping during nighttime. I'm sleeping during daytime because that's the only time I can do what I'm doing during daytime. The energies are just too low. I get brain fogged. I get lethargic. I get nauseous and all sorts of things are going on. I get nothing out of daytime. So I sleep during daytime. I wake up when people are sitting themselves in front of the telly and the world goes quiet. And then I do what I need to do. And then I have my full capacity and my brain is working, my body's working. I can exercise, I can cook, I can do whatever I want to do. And then I'm on that roll from 6 o'clock until 9 o'clock next morning. And then society kicks in and everybody's awake, and then the energy is going to plunge and I might as well just go to sleep, right? So that's kind of how I arrange myself right now. See how you become healthier and stronger with the new diet. And that's a little trick. I never use that. I just said, don't go into this whole emotional kind of things. But it works for some people, as in kind of they need to, I will say, when I do exercise, I am seeing how my body is building when I'm working with different muscle groups, I am envisioning how they will become healthier and stronger. I am giving them that energy of awareness. I amplify the physical work they're doing with the energetic. This is why it's good to do. This is what I want to achieve with what I'm doing. So I am doing that envisioning, adding that visual context to the physical work that I'm doing. So that's the idea here, that if you work with that, for me, I did that years ago, as in kind of, why did I shift over, aside from never liking meat and all those kind of things, was because it kind of, my body demanded it of me. So I knew I had to do it. It was not even as in kind of, yeah, I'm enjoying what I'm eating right now. On the contrary, it's like, I feel like vomiting everything that comes into my mouth. I want to throw up. So what diet do I then, what diet can I then eat? Right? But this is a little trick you can do, and you can do it with other stuff as well, where you amplify by envisioning it. That's the beginning of the holographic sciences, because everything in the holographic worlds are in both as holographic units, but they are also visuals. When you're working with other species or extraterrestrials or exosystemic Part of the telepathic communication is visual. It's holographic imprints. You get it as huge packages of information, which your brain then transform and transferred and translates into different imagery, into different symbols, into different concepts, into different ideas, and into different patterns of change. So that's some things that your brain is doing. So that's just working with your brain to assist the processes of change in your body. So use the meditative enhancing work that I have put in this ebook to alter the energy patterns of who you think you are. And that's kind of, if you think you are a meat eater, then do that little exercise and kind of, I know most of you that are listening to this one, you're not eating meat anymore, but work with psychologically, why is it so important for you to eat meat? And then literally just envision, see for yourself, if you like, you want to visualize that animal living and thriving, being alive like you, and then being killed and chopped up and all the difficult processes that it's going through as part of being a farm animal or production animal. I hate that word in itself. We're producing livestock to kill them so we can feed humans. That in itself, it makes my stomach kind of go, I want to vomit. Literally, seriously. That energy with that alone production animal is that's laboratory guinea pig and all the things that have been done to humanity. So anyway, so see things as they are. This is what you're actually dealing with. It's not just meat. It goes through the whole production line, or everything that is around that package of meat you have. And you say, well, it tastes good, it smells good. No, actually not. It tastes of death and it smells disgusting. Once you get your senses back, same as smokers, I love the smell of smoke and cigarettes and what have you. And everybody who's been smoking, when you stop doing that, once you have reached a certain point in time where you're not smoking anymore, you don't have the craving anymore, you can smell how disgusting it smells. And then eventually you will actually discover that cigarette smoke, as we also know, shamans have been using smoke not for cleansing. Well, there's herbs in it, but I don't see smoke as being cleansing. It's actually calling in entities. So that's what it does. It carries, the smoke becomes the seed. It becomes the access point for certain energetic entities to enter into your home. The same when you cook meat, the smell of meat will open up doors for certain astral entities. So that's just how it goes. So you kind of say, okay, if you're going into this whole kind of clearing work, perhaps it's a little bit counterproductive to open up the energetic doors by cooking meat, including being in a household where others are cooking meat. So this again becomes all depending on how ambitious you are with your energy work. That's why we need to make some changes along the way. And that will also come in when we talk about the grander the purposes of why there are production animals and why there is this industry and why we got restaurants and what all of this is restaurants are the modern function of the temples where the public comes and eat the sacrificed animals in a joint group where they are worshipping a specific type of desire, materialistic oriented types of entities that are put there to make us feel good and make us feel that we are part of something greater or whatever you want to put in. I'm not a restaurant goer, never really was, never really want to be sitting there eating all that noise and all of these people. You get some nice food, but no, not really. So again, another thing I want to put in here, and you're going to say, "Oh, Randy, you're really tiring me out now." Yeah, and I'm thinking this is more or less going to be the last one because I more or less said what I wanted to say, and you will see it's kind of the same dynamics that I'm going through here, which I'm working further with in the transition sciences, but on their advanced level. There are certain mythologies where you work with changes. On the same spectrum, you're working with them with one type of energy in the base program. In the middle domain, you work with some of the same ideas, but with a different type of dynamics because the energies work differently, but the basic understanding of why you're doing it are still the same. So you can say the methods change, the energy change, but the understanding of the why is in accordance with who and what you are. the why you're doing this and that, whatever. And I have my convictions based upon how I perceive reality. And that is what comes out no matter what method or type of energy we're working with. I'm always ending up in the principles and the rules and the laws, and I'm always ending up in the first of many. I'm always ending up, do not exploit any other life forms, and onward and so forth, because that is so foundationally part of my energy system and my original configuration. That's part of what was behind the whole ideas of the Pillar Project, some very foundational concepts and ideas, which we can then expand into all sorts of different variations that will apply to different circumstances. And with these different circumstances, use different types of energy. I'm that kind of person that says changes have to be done swift and quickly and not when the time is right, because there's never the right time to do anything. You know that. Or when you have eaten it all, because it would probably be a little bit too much to ask you to toss everything you have in the fridge and whatever. You can, of course, you can give it to others, but the question is now you know what the energy behind it. What will I do with this I've bought kind of thing. So I'm not going to advise to you what would be the right approach to that one. But the longer you take before you instigate changes, you will lose the psychological, energetic momentum. And if you say, I'll do it when the time is right, then that time will never, ever come, because all of the energetic parasites will ensure you will never get to that point where you will begin working differently or working differently with energy. They will prohibit you from doing any change at all. They want to keep you steady state in your comfort zone, and they will ensure that you will have all sorts of emotional reactions and all sorts of thought forms and all sorts of self-justification techniques to why you should wait, to why tomorrow's better, to why you need to do that first before you can do that. That's the typical snare or trickery that's going on within humans. I need to do this first before I can do that. No, you need to do it now when the time is there, because that's now. When you think that you want to do it, you do it. Not tomorrow, not in 2 hours, now. When you think you need to poop, you go down and poop. When you want to pee, you go down and pee. When you want to eat, you do eat. When you do want to do a podcast, do the podcast. Not tomorrow, not 2 hours later. Because this is when you really begin to understand reality and how reality dynamics work and the energies of reality. There are what's called windows of opportunity. And that's where different gate systems open up to different levels of a holographic reality network. So that means that if you are having an opening and you get the idea, first and foremost, of course, check for influences and energetic parasites and cube systems and alien technology. But if you kind of say, yes, nothing about that, then it comes from your own energy system. And the reason why you get that feeling or that idea is because your energy system is telling you, I need to move forward now, and you need to put that into some kind of motion exemplification where you are working with the three fields that you are composed of in the outer domain. That's the mind field, thinking, processing, envisioning, the vibrational field where you are putting it to action, where you are not as much feeling about it, but you're amplifying it as part of the envisioning processes, and you are exemplifying it by doing it. You're living it out, you're implementing it, and you're following through. So if you have a thought, that's always the process: thought, emotion, follow through, implement it, make it happen. Then you have put it in motion. And then when you have that kind of, oh, I don't want to do this, go in and clear yourself in energy work. Go in and remove the energetic parasites. Stick to your plan. Stick to what you have put in motion. Perhaps it's not how you completely envisioned it. No, nothing ever is. But stick to being a plant foodtarian, whatever that means to you. And you will have a lot of trial and error. You will have a lot of, oh, this works and this doesn't work. And that's the iteration. That's the refinement of your project, because changing your habit and your eating habits are projects. They are projects of changing your eating habits. So that's the first project that you instigate on, where you use the different techniques and the different tools that I have and are sharing with you. That's the first major project. The next one is health and exercise, because these are the typical two things that I can see people if they can't master these two basic things, of eating healthy and take good care of their body, then it's very, very difficult to continue with the progression sciences, because then you can say, why do we do the progression sciences? Why do we eat healthy? Why do we change our food and our diet to become plant-based? Because we know not only it's the right thing to do, which I talked about, everything supports that today, but also because we know it's good for us. Perhaps you won't feel that to begin with, but as your body gets more and more accustomed to get the right type of food with high levels of nutrition and minerals and vitamins, it will say, I only want that because I like being in this high performance state of being. It lifts your body up to a different type of network that goes beyond the general population that are eating meat, that are eating processed food, that are drinking and smoking and doing weed and cannabis and drugs and all sorts of bad things that are bad for you. And I'm pretty clear on that one. So, because I work with drug addicts, and I'm not going to go on board of that one. Oh, yeah, cannabis is healthy for you. I'm not going to go there because I know it's not. I know what it does to the brain. I know what it does to the energy system, and it opens up to the underworld. So no, you're not getting me on board on that one. The same with cigarettes. Open up to different types of entities that are part of actually a 5th to 8th dimensional AI third cycle groups of entities. You have the alcohol that shuts down the frontal lobe processes and pushes you back into the limbic, emotional, instinctual driven system that opens up for entities on the lower levels of your emotional field, and onward and so forth. Food is also connected to energy, and energy is always connected to different fields of our reality where there are different entities. When you utilize specific type of energy due to the laws of energetic and genetic affinity, you also access that reality field, and you also access the entities that are there. The moment you get your sensitivity back and the ability to see these things, you will understand what I'm saying. The only reason why you're not seeing it and perceiving it is because you are so face locked into your emotional and your mind field or your mental field, and that is so controlled by different forces and entities and distortion energies, so you're not perceiving anything at all. You are completely clogged like a lens of glasses, or what you call it, camera or whatever, and you can't see through because it's completely muddy. So you need to clear all of that. And once you do, you will see things as they truly are. And then you will know what I'm talking about here is okay and accurate, actually. And I can see, I just said, oh, I can't go in and do all this editing. And I think I actually have to do so, because here we are, what type of food for the new base program? And we could say the new base program of the future humanities, and it's still the same. It doesn't change. It's still the same, but it is low carb diet. It is natural fats. It is lots of greens, vegetables, fruits and berries, lentils, beans and chickpeas, and all of these kind of things. You can just go out there, look up on the internet, or hear what you can eat of different types of food. And again, you must learn to listen to your body and what your biochemistry prefers to fuel from. There's no, this is the best type of food, this is superfood. Well, not for everybody. For instance, only periods of time do I like kale, and I loved kale for a long time, but now just kind of, when I look at kale, I want to vomit. You can tell me from here until the end of days, it's a superfood. But for me, it's a complete waste of vegetables. You have these green leaves. They are grown more or less directly from the soil, and they are being produced for food, and they are difficult to chew, and they are full of all sorts of wormy things from the underworld because they're so close to the soil. And technically, if you ask me, I would prefer to live by fruits. I would be able to produce on my own, in my own home, without soil, in specific types of hydro containers. I would have to engineer myself or something if I were to be as pure as I like it. So therefore, when we talk about working with food, and I talk about that in the advanced class 3, we need to clear the food. And someone will say, how do I clear the food? Well, the energy work you're doing on yourself, you also do on the food. It's the same thing. Hands on, clear it, work with it. What are you seeing? Clear it out, remove what's there. It's that simple. What you do with your body, as you were taught in the basic energy work, you do with food as well. Hands on, see what's there, clear it, amplify it, lift this up to its highest purity rate. See how it shines golden light. Same technique. Because we're made of the same material. And again, the only reason why we eat food is because there's some things we can't produce ourselves. And I want to figure out how I can produce that myself. Go for it. That's a scientific project. And if you can master that and figure that one out, you will be the first of many to alter your human DNA so you can produce C vitamins, for instance, or a D vitamin, or some of the ones we're not producing ourselves. Go for it. That would be a pattern of change. That would be a genetic re-engineering. Okay? So the reason why it's also very, very important with this whole food, and I want to end this course here because you can read the rest of the text material yourself. It's all explained there, but now you got the things I haven't explained in the text material. And I think 3 podcasts on that topic will suffice. And I'm getting tired as well. But just to put it in context, it's not just about taking care of the planet. It's not just about your health when we talk food, but it is highly connected to this. But the highest level of understanding is that what you are made of connects you to different types of levels of our reality. So the higher standard, the higher holographic network level that are in the food that you're eating, the more it will support your already existing energy work. That means you need to do clearing work on your food. You need to purify and lift it up energetically. And if you have something you can't clear, then it's not the right food for you to eat, because you can say, well, wouldn't it be easier if we could just stop eating food? Oh, yes, I would love that. But my body, this body needs food. It doesn't work well if it doesn't get, that amount of fruit every day, because my brain runs on enormously high amounts of energy. If I don't get my fruit, my smoothie with all of that fruit in it, if I don't get that high type of energy, my brain is not capable of lifting up to the higher neural network, no matter how much I clear my body. I need infusions of certain what we call base program items of this planetary setting, which I then transform, digest, and then I get fueled with the higher versions of nutritions that I need to continue working with the higher order energies. Others might be capable of not eating that much. But if you look over the course of the day, how much do I actually eat? Very little. What I ingest enormous amount of is water and fluids that I absorb in my body. That's the most important thing in me. And 2 to 3 liters of water, pure water every day. I drink up to 2 liters of tea, and I drink 1 liter of coffee. You can do the math on that one. Normal people would drown in that. You would literally wash out all of your minerals and whatever you have in your cells. Very, very unhealthy. But because I'm working on high levels of energy, I'm always in the other realities. My body uses all of that fluid. It uses all of that. What is in the fruit I eat, in the smoothies I absorb, they process all of that into my body so my body can work in the higher order reality fields. If I was just inside the base program, a normal day where I just completely go down in energy, I don't drink near as much, and I have a larger need for food, which is interesting. Go up in energy, not as much food, but a lot of fluids. Down in energy, more food, less fluids. So this is also part of how my body works. So as part of this understanding, I think I kind of covered all of the bases. There is, of course, much more to say to this, but I cover all of that in different variations in the Transition Science course material. And I'm going to cover more of that when I go into the project itself, where I'll work with the next level of understanding of food and health and environment that will come from an understanding of, now we created the foundation here. Then you do the Transition Science courses where you get the next set of information, creating the middle domain energy system. And then in the project itself, I will work with reality from a reality perspective of food, health, and environment. So now we got the basic level base program transition out of that one. You do the Transition Science courses, then you go into the higher levels of how to work with food and energy and your energy system to get the features I talked about here. And then we can begin to create a project where it's the global understanding, the reality field understanding. That next level of pattern of change is no longer about personal health or personal diet or personal, I need to do this for myself. It's no longer about communities and eating with others or what that is, and food industry, that's of course part of it. But we go to the next level of the reality field to complete the 3 9-pillar activation and cleanup processes, where we work with the historical context, the environmental context, the galactic context, whatever context we can come up with that are connected to the reality field. Why it is important. I already touched ground with it here. Why these 3 things are one of the first Trinity systems that we need to nail and really need to be part of, or make it a complete, this is the new norm, this is how we live, and we don't even think about it because it has become so natural and we understand completely on all levels. It's like pushing, no matter what button you push, you will come up with that good, solid, healthy, completely in sync Trinity structure of why it is the right approach, whether it's base program or middle domain or inner domain, outer domain, inner, middle domain or inner domain, or whatever level it is. It is no longer going against what you know is right. And you can say, well, 30 years ago, it was the right thing to eat meat. We can always argue over, we could split hairs over all of these kind of things. But let us work with the zeitgeist and what we know is the right thing now. Not what was, but what is now, and what we need to do now with the challenges ahead of us and what we have discovered of challenges as they are now. In 10 years, we will have other issues that we will have to deal with. So each problem that must be solved is always connected to the time and the era and the context. And we'll solve that problem within the time and within that era and within that context. And then we'll move to the next problem, do the same thing, and the next problem and do the same thing. Because changes are always a process. It's a process of nows. It's a process of different contexts. It's a process of different details and different operationals and different things that must be executed. But once we've done that, we move to the next point and the next point and the next nodal point and the next level. And we expand and we learn more and more. And that's the way we build the complex awareness that lifts us into the higher order sciences and the advanced civilizations that we are trying to become part of as part of the 5th cycle. Thank you.